Good afternoon. Welcome to Cooking with Dr. T. I'm Tasha, and today we will be making chicken enchiladas with red sauce. For this recipe, you will need a pound of chicken, 3 tablespoons of flour, 4 cups of chicken broth. I prefer low sodium chicken broth, 4 to 7 teaspoons of chili powder, a half teaspoon of Mexican oregano, a half teaspoon of cumin, and a half teaspoon of garlic powder. You will also need at least 4 tablespoons of vegetable oil. Okay, you'll also need the following items from your kitchen, including a 4.7 liter saucepan, a baking pan. I am using a 9 by 9 inch baking pan. If you make more or less, you can accommodate your baking pan. You will also need a small frying pan to fry your corn tortillas in, and I'm choosing to use a skillet to cook my chicken on. You can also use a grill or, again, use leftover chicken meat. Okay, so let's get started with making the sauce. We're going to take our flour and oil and get it started over on the stovetop. So let's go over to the stove. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and heat up our 4 tablespoons of oil over medium heat. And then we'll add our 3 tablespoons of flour. From there, we'll then add our dry ingredients, our Mexican oregano, our chili powder, and our garlic powder, and then slowly add the 4 cups of chicken broth. Okay, so my oil is heated up. I'm going to add my flour and mix it around so I am essentially browning my flour. Okay, so I'm going to turn it down on medium low, and I'm going to go grab my dry ingredients, my chicken broth. So I'm going to go ahead and add the dry ingredients. Again, depending on how hot you want this is dependent on how much chili powder you're going to put in. So I put in 7 teaspoons. If you wanted a little less kick, you can put in 4 teaspoons. And then you're going to have a half a teaspoon of garlic powder, a half a teaspoon of Mexican oregano, and a half a teaspoon of cumin. So right now you can kind of see everything is crumbled up. So we're going to add a little bit at a time of our chicken broth. I'm just going to, so I added about half of the chicken broth. Again, we're adding a total of 4 cups. And I just want to make sure that my sauce isn't clumpy. And I just turn it up a little bit, so I'm on medium heat now. And I'm going to add a little bit more of my chicken broth. And again, just stirring to make sure that any of the chunks that have formed are going away. And I'm going to turn this up to a slow boil, and then we'll reduce the heat and let it simmer for about 15 to 20 minutes so that it can thicken a little bit. So I'm going to continue to stir it while the sauce starts to boil. Again, just making sure that we don't have any lumps or bumps. And as you can see, my sauce is pretty red. Again, the less chili powder that you add, the lighter color you're going to get. Some people like to add tomatoes to their enchilada sauce. I feel like the tomato's a little bit too acidic, and it kind of gives a little bit of an aftertaste to your enchilada sauce, which is why I don't use tomatoes. So while that is coming to a boil, let's get started on the chicken. Okay, so the enchilada sauce is boiling, so I'm going to turn it down to medium-low and cover it, and we're going to let it simmer for about 15 to 20 minutes so that sauce can thicken up a little bit. In the meantime, let's go ahead and get started on our chicken. Now again, if you're using chicken that you've already made, or if you're using leftover rotisserie chicken, that's perfectly fine. Today I'm going to use a cast iron skillet for my chicken to cook it on. I really like the flavor that the cast iron gives. I've already pre-seasoned my chicken with some fresh ground pepper, black pepper, and some salt. So I'm going to just let this heat up, and then we'll add the chicken to the skillet. And again, I'm just going to check on my enchilada sauce. If you don't frequently stir it, the bottom will actually start to burn, and then you'll get clumpy parts in your enchilada sauce. No. So we can go ahead and add our chicken. And I'm just going to clean up a little bit. Back to our enchilada sauce while our chicken is cooking. You want to make sure that your consistency is not too runny and not too thick. So again, consistency, you can kind of see as I'm spooning it up, still a little bit watery. We want to thicken it up just a little bit more. And so we're going to allow it to cook a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to check on my chicken and see if it's time to flip it. And again, I'm just going to wash to make sure that we don't spread any germs. And you can really smell it, the peppering. About 10 more minutes for this to cook before it's nice and thick. So let's get started on frying the tortillas. Okay, just going to add a little bit more salt and pepper to the other side of the chicken while it's cooking. And again, your leftover rotisserie chicken makes really great chicken enchiladas. So if you don't have time to cook your chicken, you can always use your leftovers. So we're going to go ahead and move the enchilada sauce to the back burner and start frying our corn tortillas. So I put in about 2 tablespoons of oil, enough to cover the bottom of this small frying pan. I am going to use some paper towels, and I'll just put it in the bottom of my baking dish. And that's just to kind of blot off the tortillas. Okay, so my oil starting to warm up. And if you want to take a look at the chicken, just make sure that you're not burning your chicken. So the chicken's looking pretty good. I'm going to turn it once. Very nice. Okay, so we'll let the chicken cook for about 5 more minutes and then start cutting it up. Okay, so our corn tortillas are starting to bubble a little bit. I really like a crunch to my tortillas, so I'm going to fry until a nice golden brown. Other people don't really like to have that crunchy in their enchiladas, so it is really dependent on how you like it as to how much you're going to fry your tortillas. My chicken is looking pretty well done, so I'm just going to cut my chicken. For thicker pieces of chicken, it can be difficult to get the chicken cooked all the way through, so I like to just cut it toward the end of my cooking and make sure that everything gets cooked thoroughly. We will also be baking these afterwards, so make sure everything is nice and thoroughly cooked. And I'm just keeping an eye on my tortilla. It does not appear to be completely golden yet, so when it looks like it's golden, we'll turn it and take it off of the oil. So right here you can kind of see that there's still a little bit of pink, so that's what I'm trying to make sure that I cook thoroughly and have my chicken well done. So again, this happens a lot when you have thicker cuts of chicken. Let's see, again, not completely cooked. You can tell the difference too when you're cutting. The not thoroughly cooked chicken is definitely more of a rubbery consistency. It makes it difficult to cut. Okay, so I've essentially cut and shredded my chicken, and I'm just going to give a few more minutes of cooking to make sure that all of the undercooked chicken is nicely cooked. Let's go back to the corn tortillas. Okay, so you can see that this side of the corn tortilla is getting golden brown. So I'm just going to fry the other side to the same consistency. And it's been a while since we've checked our sauce, so let's go ahead and just check our sauce. See, the consistency is thickening to a nice consistency. So everything looks good there. And my first tortilla is done, so I'm going to put in my second tortilla. Okay. Alright, so I am making enough enchiladas for 2 people. So I'm going to fry up between 6 and 8 corn tortillas. And that'll give me a little bit of leftovers as well. I'm going to go ahead and start filling my first enchilada. So I'm going to grab some chicken meat. Really hot. So I am not stingy with my chicken. So some chicken meat. I have cheese here. This is a blended cheese. So it has queso cheese, which is a white cheese that's used frequently in Mexican dishes, and cheddar cheese. So I'm going to put a little bit of cheese, and I'm going to take my sauce. And add the sauce in. Now I'm also going to put sauce on top once everything is filled. So I'm going to roll this, and basically all I'm going to do is roll it from side to side. So I'm just going to roll it up. take some chicken. And some cheese. And then we'll need to put some enchilada sauce in there. And I'm going to roll. Super simple, right? Now, if you don't use all of your enchilada sauce, you can save it. And on those nights that you don't have time to go through the full prep, you can either make more enchiladas or you can make tostadas with chicken and enchilada sauce. So, works out really well. So I really like cheese. What is it? The average American eats like 10 pounds of cheese a year? Something like that? Yeah, I think I see how that happens. Alright, so again, as you can see, a nice crispy golden brown. If you don't want yours to have any crisp to it, you can take that away. I'm going to get some more cheese. This is a very good base sauce. You can make a lot of different recipes from having this sauce kind of saved up. And again, it decreases your prep time for your meals. So on those nights that you've had a long day, or you get surprised saying that you're going to need to make dinner for multiple people, having that sauce saved will definitely help. So I like to multitask. You don't have to, especially in the beginning. You can fry up all your tortillas and then fill them. So it is up to you and what you feel comfortable with. I'm just going to make one more, actually 2 more. Add my chicken, add my cheese, the sauce, last one. And the chicken, and cheese, and my sauce. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to preheat my oven to 375. Okay, so the last little bit, we're going to just add some sauce to the top. Okay, Perfect. I just like to make sure that I have sauce all over. And for cheese lovers out there, sprinkle some cheese on top. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and put this in for 20 minutes. Okay, so here's our finished product, our chicken enchiladas with red sauce. It looks very good. I can smell all of the spices right now. If you would like to add cheese, now would be a really good time to do it. I feel like there's plenty of cheese, both on top and inside, but if you are a cheese lover, go ahead and feel free to add more. If you've been following me on YouTube, you know that I have made recipes for both rice and beans, which would go very well with this enchilada dish. If not, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and you can watch all of my new recipes. If you enjoyed this recipe today, please give me a thumbs up. And again, if you'd like to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, or Facebook, the links will be provided below. Thanks again. So let's try a bite of this. Perfect.